Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of GeekVerse podcast. I am your host, Taylor Field, and I am here tonight because it is the Wolfman 2025 spoilers review dropping right here, right now. And I'm alone. You might have noticed no Kirkland with me. I think it was last week he mentioned that he was shouting out while I was gone that there was a Wolfman review coming, and I went and saw it, and he did not. And now he's gone for the week. So here I am doing a solo review. And there's nothing wrong with that. I hope, Kirkland, you're having a good time out there hitting the slopes. I'm excited to talk about this movie because it's right up my alley. This is the kind of movie that I'm excited to watch, first of all, because it's getting into that zany craziness that you don't normally see in your typical movie theater. I feel like this is a rare treat. But before we get into that, a couple of plugs. You can find us with our internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. Be sure to check us out on the Patreon because that's where you can get ad-free, exclusive, early content. It's a great place to be. Lots of stuff popping off there, including our Patreon producers Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Muds, Sam, Superbad Mike, Godless Me 69, Jeremy Renner, and Charlie Randell. Love you guys. You folks are fantastic. Thank you for everything that you do. What has been popping off? So we took a break from Dexter. They skipped a week with those episodes. So we're resuming the review for Original Sin this coming Friday. What else do we have? Skeleton Crew has wrapped up. So those are all available on our feeds now, episodes 1 through 8. We've also finished Creature Commandos. So you can check those out on our feeds as well. And what else is there? Oh, we have Side Quest that's dropping. Dylan and Kirkland did a little dissection of the Daredevil Born Again trailer and a little bit of other news topics in there as well. I think we're gonna have a newscast coming to you this week as well with me and Dylan, but I'll get confirmation on that later on. Then we have an After 9 coming this weekend as well. So there's lots of stuff that's popping off. It's a great time to be a Geekverse fan and listener. But that said and done, I was debating whether or not I was going to get into the non-spoilers or just do spoilers, but I think I'll just give a very brief, minor little bit of non-spoilers for you fine folks. It was a nice treat. I was able to take my wife to see this movie, and because we have a little one, so it's not always easy for both of us to sneak away if a sitter isn't available to go watch a movie. And so when we do, we usually try and pick a movie that is worth getting a sitter for. And this lined up where we had to have a sitter already for something else that we were doing. And so we thought, you know what, we have extra time. Let's just sneak in this movie. And it worked out. And yeah, we enjoyed it. This is a good time. I had a blast seeing this in the theater. Would I say everyone needs to? I don't know if everyone needs to be racing to see it in the theater, but I think that there is definitely enough going on where you can appreciate seeing it on a big screen. I think that this film really explores using your peripheral vision a little bit, and being able to see things on a larger format is a lot more enjoyable and spooky than watching it on something a little bit smaller. But that's not a takeaway. If you aren't going to see it in theaters, it's fine. You can wait till it comes to home streaming. That works too. But in the end, I think everyone should watch this movie. I really, really do. There's a lot going on that's really great. The trailer was a real curveball because when I saw the trailer initially, I thought, okay, this is basically giving us everything. I mean, I've seen the movie now by watching the trailer. That's just great. But I was pleasantly surprised. There was enough in the trailer that, okay, I can kind of see where things are going. I know when this is going to happen. I know when this is going to happen. But ultimately, no, the story was very different from what I was expecting, and I really like that. The way the movie starts off, it's scary, it's tense, and I'm really appreciating, this isn't a spoiler, but I'm really appreciating how these horror movies are kind of boosting up Oregon as being a much more spookier kind of place to go to, I guess, like what you're dealing with. Um, and I can appreciate that. Oh gosh. I, I found some food on my shirt here that my daughter had obviously spat up. Well, that's nice. Uh, anyways, yeah, I can appreciate that. We're kind of focusing on like Oregon and these kind of remote forest kind of locations, because I feel like older movies, not really older movies, but older horror movies kind of take place, like West Virginia or like the boonies and stuff like that. That's just a little bit more out there. but getting to be a little bit more closer to home, like to British Columbia, where I'm from, uh, it's uh, it's kind of neat because when I see where this filming location is, and I just see how like the mountains look and the forest is, I'm thinking, man, this is just like our backyard here, where where we shot Adrenochrome. So it's very very cool to see the choice of location for this. Whereas you have Wolfman 2010, where I'm pretty sure. Oh, was that in like England? I think I can't fully remember exactly that one. I think he was going back to his ancestral home, England or somewhere like that. Somewhere definitely not in North America. But that was 15 years ago, and here we are in another Wolfman iteration. This is Blumhouse that's delivered on it, and Blumhouse, there's definitely a lot of projects that are probably hit and miss, and not everything is definitely it's not great, but I think that this was quite the job well done. Uh, like I said, peripheral vision is one thing, and the other thing that you're also taking into account is that you're not getting. Obviously, you're going to see a Wolfman, but you're not getting the Wolfman dead, like full on, full body shot right then and there. Overly practical effects, overly done CGI, anything like that. I could not tell you where there was any CGI in this movie. I don't think there was any. I think it was all just practical effects, and it was all just really, really well done. It was all just the cinematography that they were relying on, and I can appreciate that. It's really, really nice. It brings it back to basics, and they really deliver. Now, I said I couldn't really recall where CGI is. That's a lie. I just recalled a moment of CGI now in my mind, but I can't talk about it until I get to the spoilers. But ultimately, there's a great level of fear in setting you up in a way that subverts your expectations. And I can appreciate a movie like this where it's putting a scene in place. It's a long quiet moment and you're anticipating, okay, it's going to happen, and it does not happen. There's no jump scares really that's getting you. Now this movie is not it's not that it's devoid of jump scares. There are some, but it's not relying on that, and that's a good thing. It's relying on you as the viewer being your own worst enemy, trying to anticipate when something's going to happen, and you can't really anticipate it, but then you're seeing something in your peripheral vision. Half the time when I was seeing things on screen, I wasn't sure if I was actually seeing things, but they give you just enough to see that there is something wrong and something very uncomfortable present around this family. And at the same time, they're dealing with their own tribulations indoors, but you you use your mind, and your fear checks in when, okay, this thing is just moving around out and about and you can't really see it and pinpoint it, and it's just very very freaky and very very uncomfortable. And I think that they did a great job. I think the actors and actresses in this movie were fantastic. They did a really really good job. But ultimately, I'm excited to rewatch this one. This one might be a hard copy purchase, to be honest. I think that they really did a lot of good stuff with this movie. But I think that's it for non spoilers. I'm gonna break down into spoilers now after this quick ad break. So we will be right back. And we are back. So as classic Taylor solo review format goes, I'm the kind of guy that just goes from point A to point Z, just go through the whole movie here and just kind of highlight and pinpoint the things that are worth pinpointing. So if you've seen the movie, great, stick around. If you haven't seen it, well, you can stick around too. I'm not going to hold it against you, but I mean, you should go watch the movie and then come and stick around. Either way, so the movie starts off where we're at this remote location. This dad has his cabin in this farm area, and he's clearly out here looking for something. And he's got his son. He's got a bit of a military background, and he's got his son with him. And I thought, okay, this is where things are going to kind of go awry. But that's not necessarily the case. It's just setting up. It sets up the tone, and it sets up a little bit of backstory for our main character here. So we're dealing with his father son, and they go out hunting. And I've been out hunting with my father before. It's fine. This guy, dad, is very much more disciplined and more strict because he's right. The woods are very very dangerous, so when you're out here, you need to be very very careful. And it's just eerie, and I love this eerie feeling because they just show a few shots of the mountains and how isolated you are, and it just feels remote, and that sense of remote is definitely the first stepping stone into being afraid. And our first shot of the wolf man is not one that is just, oh, he's being eaten, he's being killed, ay, 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 and it's scary and bloody. It's, like I said, setting it up where your interpretation is just kind of working against you here, because now all of a sudden you're watching this boy alone thinking he's going to shoot a deer, and he's moving his scope and he's looking down sights up on this ridge line, and it's so freaking quick that you just see this bipedal like hairy beast standing up on this ridge. It you could miss it. It happens so quickly, and like the camera then shifts and he like looks back, you don't see anything, and you're waiting for the jump scare, but it doesn't happen. He's still looking. You get a little bit of a jump, but it's not that much of a scare because his dad catches him. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And then you start to hear like roars in the distance. Like, okay, this is where it really feels freaky, because just their location. Like, I feel like I've sat in a location like this before myself, and you really feel you got this bolt action rifle. It's not feeling good. It's not feeling good. I would not want to be in this situation with my kid, especially as a dad, if you know what you're looking for and that thing has found you. So they managed to get into this little deer blind, and right when they get in, they can hear this thing crawling down underneath them outside the deer blind. And I'm freaking out in my chair. My chair is bumping up and down because I'm starting to get the heebie-jeebies. So you see a puff of air, like breath, I guess, poofing up over the door, and you can't see over the door and see what's right there, but this poof of air is there. This thing is breathing outside, and the dad's holding the gun up, and then you don't see the breath anymore, but the dad's still freaked out. Then right behind him on that side of the wall, you see the breath start to like poof out, thinking, oh god, this thing's behind him, holy crap. And you're expecting him to get killed, but no, you hear a deer make a sound, and all of a sudden, the wolfman, you hear him like leap off and go, rah, 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 like claws something, and then the dad lifts up his rifle. After a few minutes, he points out the gun and he sees, okay, there's a dead deer over there, and he fires off a shot because he sees something run through his sights, and that freaks him out. And so he's like, okay, we're getting out of here. So he goes back home, takes his son with him, doesn't leave him in the deer blind. They go together, and then he's calling for help, basically saying, hey, I found it. And there's a few other people, I guess, in this area that they've kind of formed like a grid and a network, and they're trying to find this thing. And they're setting up this interesting concept, whether it is a curse, whether it is a disease. It's up to interpretation what it really, really is. And so I almost felt like it was disease, because this isn't something that's based on a full moon and it turns you. This is basically them dealing with the fact that, hey, if you get infected with whatever this thing is, you're going to turn into whatever this thing is, and it's not going to be pretty. So that basically ends our story at the start there, and we basically jump ahead. Was it 30 years? I think it was 30 years. Jump ahead 30 years. And the boy is a grown adult now. He's a father. And we can see, okay, he's got his own parental issues with his own kid, because this damage that was put onto him by his father is still very present in the and he's doing a good job trying to redact it, though, and build something healthy with his daughter. And so they're in the city, and everyone's living their life in the city. And this is where I kind of took a step back, because I thought, man, I if you don't know, I run another show called Cryptic Clues, and the Cryptic Clues show, it dives into cryptids and Dogman and Bigfoot and aliens, UFOs, ghosts, paranormal, all that kind of stuff, mysteries. And so what I'm seeing here is that you have this everyone living in this world of metal, like in the city and skyscrapers and whatnot, and it's just such a different level of existence by changing over into the woods. And so when the guy finds out, oh, his dad died and we got to go clear out his stuff, so he goes out with his family and is taking them to the cabin that he grew up in when he was young, and we saw at the beginning of the movie. It's so different, and you go into the woods and you act like you're almost a tourist. You're not there to stay, you're just there temporarily, but there are very dangerous things out there. Like, we pull Wolfman out of the equation here. It's very dangerous. You need to be very, very careful when you go out there, because if you get lost, and it's very easy to get lost in the woods, that's game over. So with this family going out there, you get a weird you get a weird kind of like vibe. It's friendly at first, but then it's like, okay, the weird vibe is sitting in because they're getting into a remote territory. They don't know where they're going, don't know what they're necessarily doing here because they're kind of lost. They somehow bump into someone that they knew, at least the dad knew, when he was young. Uh, and so that guy basically hops inside their vehicle and is like, I'll show you where your dad's property is, yada, yada, yada. Super sus, but hey, the guy, he's got a firearm. He seems very friendly. He's making weird comments about his wife and his kid, but he seems like he's relatively okay. He clearly knows that there's something out here, but he's all alone. I don't know why he would just be standing in a deer blind for who knows how long, ways away from his property, but he's just doing it. They're making Oregon seem like it's a lot more scarier than it really, really is. But I digress. So they're driving, they're in a big moving truck, and all of a sudden, this thing is standing in the middle of the road. Now, me as a driver, I'm the kind of guy that hits the brakes. I maybe do a little bit of a swerve to help kind of stop. That's just the kind of like method of madness that I found helps when I'm trying to brake really fast. This guy, I don't know if he hit the brakes. I'm pretty sure he hit the gas and he fucking sent it. This huge cube van, minivan, whatever, it flipped sideways and got pinned between two trees. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. So they were stuck up there, and the one friend, deer blind man, I'll call him deer blind, he thought it'd be a good idea to open the door, wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and he just fell to the ground, and that looked painful. Daughter and mom crawled up on top of the cube van, and dad was still in the seatbelt. And this is now where it gets really, really cool because when he veered off the road, there was something right in the middle of the road that popped up really quick. But you don't get a good look at it. The next time you see it, it's when the side view mirror of the truck, you can see, okay, this thing's crawling underneath the truck. But now remember, this cube van is flipped sideways, so this thing is crawling sideways underneath, and that's when the door is swung open. You can see the dad is looking at the reflection in the side view mirror. You can see this thing underneath the cube van crawling along, and it's just freaky. And I love that those are the perspectives that they're going for and the way they shot it. So when he closes the door, the Wolfman like smashes the glass and cuts the guy a little bit. And he's like, oh my God, and looks down and he sees his deer blind buddy get dragged off, and it's not good for him. But he crawls out, gets on top of the cube van, and basically is like, okay, we gotta go. So he tells his daughter, tells his wife, we gotta go. And so they basically jump off, and they're like, okay, I know where we are, I know where we are. Which, pardon my French, fuck that. This guy knows where they are. He hasn't been here in 30 years. He's like, I know where, this is familiar, this is familiar. I'd be calling out this guy left, right, and center. Like, this is bullshit. I'm not following you. But you know what else are you gonna do? You got a creepy ass motherfucker behind you. You got some unknown beast man tailing you. The daughter doesn't know what's going on. The mom has no idea what's going on. So you got to put your faith that this guy knows what he's talking about, knows where he's going. That's my rant. They managed to make it there, which maybe it's fluke, but they made it there. So they're running, and as they're running out of the tree line into the clearing, and they're getting closer to the house, behind him, then you see Buddy on all fucking fours, just fucking hoofing it, going. If this was me in the situation and I saw that, I would. There's untapped adrenaline in my body that I would channel, and it would just be beelining it. The next problem is making sure you know which key it is to unlock that front door because it's got a little gate and then it's got the door. I don't know how, but Buddy remembered which key it was just as well as he knew exactly where the house was because he figured it out and he got that key in and opened that door, and they were all inside while this all fours man was, hoofing it left, right, and center to them. They got in, they barricaded the door. That was great. His arm's not doing too good because this is where, okay, we know he's infected. And this is the part of the movie where I thought, okay, he becomes the wolf man, but that's not the case. Well, yes, he becomes the Wolfman, but I thought, okay, he's gonna become the main villain of the story, but he's not at this point, really. They're still dealing with this other Wolfman that's still out there, and I thought, okay, we're gonna get two Wolfmen here. That's kind of a cool thing. I'm always down for more like Wolfmen instead of Wolfman. Maybe they should have changed the title of the movie to Wolfmen instead of Man, but that'd be a spoiler. So This thing is stalking the shit out of this family outside. It's walking around and it's not looking good. And while we're spending time inside, we're getting a very cool transition from the perspective of the dad, where he's becoming a wolf man himself. You start to hear all these like thuds in the house, and he goes upstairs. It's a very long, intense, built up scene, but it subverts your expectations. You're thinking the Wolfman's inside, but then he just sees it's a spider, and his senses are getting stronger and stronger and stronger, that he's hearing the spider walking on the wall. And then it gets to a point, and this took me a while to kind of figure out, but you're seeing the camera from his point of view as he's looking at his family. The camera starts to like pan around, and it's like it goes from glowing a little bit to much darker, and the voices get a little bit more muffled. It's not easily understandable English. Then you start to realize, oh, so this is the perspective of the dad as he's changing into a wolf man. He's got night vision. He can't understand human language because he's turning into a wolf man. So there's a very cool transition here that's unfolding, and things are getting much, much worse. Uh, I had to have a conversation with my wife after about this. Like, where's the line drawn here? You're stuck inside a house. You know that your husband or your significant other is not doing well. Some shit's going down. Uh, how many red flags do you look at before you wave that white flag? You surrender here. The first red flag is, okay. This guy opens up this old meat vault and just starts eating this 30-year-old jerky. It's jerky, it's beef jerky. It's probably still good, but it's 30 years old and it was in a very nasty, uh, ill-kept space. Whatever, I'm not gonna judge. The guy was going to town on it, and then a tooth falls out. That's one red flag. I'd be like, okay, that's not very good. Cleaned your wound, but you're losing teeth. Not great. Second red flag, your eyes are totally fucked up. You're sweating. Your hair is falling out of your head. Uh, you can't understand and you can't speak. You're just gobbly and making weird noises. You're on the couch. You're passing out. It's not looking good for you. Uh, then you let your daughter come in. Your daughter says her little thing and then leaves. But this is where I would draw the line, and I'm pretty sure my wife, she draw the line here too, depending. But the husband and the father, he gets pissed off because the wife undoes the cloth bandage around his arm, and the arm is looking fucked. It's not looking good. You put any sort of like, oh my god, you don't want to put what is it called, oh my god, hydrogen peroxide. You put any of that on, the whole arm is just gonna melt off. This thing was looking nasty. So what happens? What's the next red flag? The dad just like starts, or like scratching it, thinking, like I started to hold my arms, like, god damn, he's scratching that shit, that's gotta hurt. And then he starts like biting it, like just eating the fucking thing like crazy. I'm thinking, man, that's the next red flag. If your significant other is scratching this horrifically disgusting looking alien arm and he starts eating the alien arm, which is his own arm, then you got to start drawing some boundaries here, and you got to set some terms, because that's not right. The next problem is, okay, you barely survived this wolf man. Your husband is more of a wolf and it was like fighting the thing off. You get inside the house, you lock the door, and you look out the window, and you see your husband standing there looking like he's at the very tail end of the zombie virus, just breathing something fierce. Would you open the door? I sure as hell wouldn't. But what does this woman do? She opens the door. She's like, "Oh, red flag? Pff, I don't see red. I'm colorblind." So the door opens, and then this guy walks in, looking absolutely wretched and animalistic as all hell. Uh, that lasts for a little bit. You get a very heartwarming scene between her and him, the Wolfman, and the daughter. But then he's like, okay, I'm gonna let myself out, and so he lets himself out, and then you get this. That is probably one of the very few jump scares. The Wolfman's there, and he's like, and he like jumps in, and like get into a little bit of battle of the wolves, battle of the pack. But before we get to all of that stuff, there was a little bit more of an intense moment where they got the generator running, things were developing inside the house, and as the transformation is really starting to take place, they figure out there's a getaway plan here. There's an old truck down by the barn. So they get the keys, they bring a battery charger, and they basically get that truck running. And I can appreciate this scene. And I wish I didn't know that this was in the trailer, and it sucks that they showed it because it is a very good scene. But that's when they close the hood of the truck. She gets inside, and the windshield is super dirty, and she turns the wipers on. And as the wipers go by, you see Buddy's head just right in there, just drooling something fierce. And then he like reaches through the glass, and that was really, really well done. Again, you don't see a lot of what's going on as they're running out. You see that there's this hairy dude on top of the hood of the vehicle trying to like squirm away. But they climb on top of the greenhouse, which is all just tarps, I guess, like sheet plastic, nothing like durable. They pull the ladder up, and so this big guy, he can't get up there. He's underneath, and he's like jumping up and down, slashing from underneath, and it was very, very well done. And like my wife was telling me, like that would be a cool thing to put into like a haunted house where you got to walk over something and this thing's jumping up trying to get at you. That'd be very freaky. So the dad, this is where the dad jumps off, runs away, and is gonna like go lure a wolf man off into the distance. They're gonna go fight. This is when the mom and the daughter run back to the house, and we're back at square one. They're stuck in there, and that's when zombie dad comes back and is like, "Ooh," when they open the door, let him in. Red flags going off, but she's colorblind, so she can't tell. And so when he's like, "I'll see myself out to keep you guys safe," he opens the door, and that's when Buddy just jumps in, and they get into a little bit of fight. And we see, okay, this is where things get interesting because the dad kills this other wolf man, rips his throat out, and then we see, okay, from everyone's point of view, this guy has tattoos on him. We can identify him like, hey, this is our current dad, our current main character, the boy, the man, the wolf man. It's his dad from the very beginning of the movie. And so we learned, okay, he didn't actually die. He went missing out in the woods and they declared him deceased, but it turns out, okay, he just became a wolfman. I'm at this point wondering that must mean that there is an original wolfman still out there that infected this guy and then this guy infected his son, or are we dealing with this father and got infected, killed that original wolfman before really started to transition and change over, and then changed over and became the new wolfman before infecting his son, who's now at the cabin with his family. It's a little convoluted, but it's up to interpretation, I'd say, at that point. uh so the original wolfman here dies, and the son is now really starting to transform and take his place. He goes outside and he's spit teeth, he's growing canines, he's turned into the absolute biggest baddest dog of all time. And the wife and daughter are like, okay, we need to get out of here. And so when they're standing inside, they look out the window, and Daddy's back. Daddy dog. He's standing outside the window, looking in on them, and it's just very freaky. And this is where I really like the peripheral vision stuff because they're in the living room walking, and they know that he's inside. They could hear him up on the roof, and they could hear him climb in. So you see them walking, the power goes out, and you see in the moonlight just faintly hitting the staircase, you see Buddy do this crazy ass walk down those stairs, absolute crazy. And that's when you think, oh shit, okay, he's right there. And the cameras are panning around so you can see his perspective in the dark where he sees them, and then it pans back to them, and it's like he's right in front of them, and they can't see it at all until finally, like, the mom looks over to where the little girl is, and you see Daddy Dog just crouched in behind her, like, and he like looks up, like, and that was freaky shit. That perspective, particularly, but they get away. They manage to smack him away and run off to the barn. And when they run off to the barn, this confused me at first because I didn't know it was a bear trap until after it sprung, but it was very well done. They use themselves as bait. They set up the perspective again where the wolfman, it's, you see from his perspective, he's like right in front of them face to face, and then it goes to their perspective and you can't see shit, it's so dark, but you can hear the wolfman's there. It's very freaky. The wolfman steps forward, gets caught in the bear trap, and mom and daughter just beeline it out of there. And again, this is another red flag, and I knew it was coming. We're gonna get the all fours moment, and when you got a human being crawling at you on all fours, I'm out. I'm sorry, that's just some scary shit. I don't like that. That terrifies me. And so, what does Buddy do? He can't undo the bear trap, so he eats his leg off. He eats his fucking leg off. And what does he do after that? I'd say he's on all threes, but no, he's just using his little nubbly stump and he's on all fours again. So he's just going for it. He's chasing after them. It's terrifying. They're running through the woods. They find Deer Blind's firearm from earlier when he was all chopped liver, and they take the gun and they manage to get back to the half flipped cube van. And for whatever reason, I guess just to get the high ground, when I look up at the cube van, you see Daddy Dog like crawling up on top of the cube van, like "Arr!" like growling at them, and then he like hides back away. So they run off, and they manage to get to the original deer blind that the dad and his son were at the beginning of the movie. And you get the same scene set up where okay, that the breathing, the breath of air like shoots up above the gate, but then you get the hands reaching over this time, just terrifying. And Daddy Dog like lifts up, and the daughter, they establish that they have a very close relationship, and they do this thing where the daughter puts her hand, sorry, on his head and can kind of not really read his mind, but just pretend. It was a little cute little thing that they had going for each other. And basically it's implied okay, he's not really trying to kill them, but he wants to be killed. And he aggravates the situation because or escalates it by like pushing the door and shaking it, and the mom just fires her gun off real quick and just kills him. But that ends it there. That basically seals the deal. And I don't know, I don't know how far or where they'd have to go after this to get out of here. They don't go back to the house. They just keep walking, and they walk to the point where at the beginning of the movie, this beautiful view that you get to see, it's where Daddy Dog and his father were at. So I'm not sure if they're trying to go into the woods and find a way out that way. They should go back to the road and walk that way. But I digress. That's basically the movie in a nutshell. And like I said, there are some amazing moments in here that I really, really do appreciate. There's probably a couple things I'm gonna try and pitch to Golden Geeks when we do Golden Geeks next year, because this is a next year movie, 2025. But yeah, I think all in all it was a good time, and I would happily rewatch this again. I'll have to see if I can get my dad in to give it a watch. But yeah, I think it's a step up in the right direction from The Wolfman from 2010. And I think this is hopefully leading us to bigger and brighter things, because I like the idea and the concept behind this a lot. And it's just very simple, remote, isolated, scary. The cinematography was great, practical effects were great, and just the idea behind this simple story was wonderful. It was perfect. Didn't need to be anything more than it was. It was great. So yeah, I think that's basically it. That's all I can think of to say for this cast. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. I will be back later this week, I'm sure, at some point with somebody, and we'll be talking about something. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Take care, and we'll see you. Oh, I guess I should give my rating first. I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10, and we'll see you in the search bar. Have a good one.